Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family, and we would love to hear from you. So send us an email with your question or your comment to jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and a blessed Advent to you as we're moving through our beautiful Advent season. Well, today our guest is Matthew Estrade, and he has seen firsthand the effects of dementia on a loved one and has been a care partner support group facilitator for 5 years. He has facilitated over 250 sessions for the Council on Aging in St. Tammany Parish in Louisiana. And he's written a book. It's a beautiful book, The Peace with Dementia Rosary. Education, Intentions, Community. It's a beautiful book. It's available at ewtnrc.com. And we so enjoyed going through the book, learning. We've had friends, parents who've suffered from dementia, and you know, just how heartbreaking it is to have someone physically present with you and maybe not mentally or emotionally present with you. And it's that long goodbye kind of thing, and how to do that in faith, how to do that in hope, how to do that in love. And during this beautiful week of Gaudete, how do we do that in joy? How do we really suffer with someone and also have joy in the midst of it all?
Well, I love what we read about our guest and what he's doing. And you mentioned some of the people we've known. We have a family member, not in the immediate family, that's battling with dementia. And so it's not necessarily a death sentence, Matthew says, can be, but it's a day-by-day thing, and there's so many nuanced ways that people experience dementia. And not everybody has dementia, has Alzheimer's. And so I'm learning a lot just by reading the book. It's very, very helpful. And Matthew's great work with dealing, I think he said care partners, or something like, I like the partner word, that, you know, I'm working with this person, you know, we're partners together, we're both human beings, we're trying to love one another in this. And so many people are so involved in this whole area. Who doesn't know someone that isn't battling dementia, it seems, these days? But Joy, what you said is so true. In the midst of all of this, may God's peace keep you. May God's joy keep you in the midst. May you, Catholicism and Christianity is a way of seeing. May you see this loved one, you know, that you're tending to the way Jesus Christ is seeing him. And may you be surprised many times over in the midst of this, with joy, with laughter, with recollections that they would recall. It seems like, well, how could they recall that? And they don't even know this, and it's there. And it seems like the worst of times, but may it be the best of times in the midst of that, somehow, some way. So we're glad to bring this show to you, Peace with Dementia Rosary, and the great works that Matt is doing. It's going to be very, very special at home with Jim and Joy. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, our guest today is Matthew Estrade, and he'll be discussing his book, The Peace with Dementia Rosary. It's a book about education, intentions, and community, which we all need. And this beautiful book is available at ewtnrc.com. You can go out to the website catholicaging.com. Well, Matt, we are so excited to have you with us today, and we enjoyed reading and learning. We love learning things, and but we were real interested in tell our family how you got involved, particularly in this field of gerontology, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. So I am a husband and father. I've been married to Neely for 21 years. And my beautiful children are Cooper, Avery, and Elizabeth. And I'm a cradle Catholic, although I do have to say that this ministry that I've had over the past 7 years has really turned me from a lukewarm Catholic to really kind of learning our faith in a serious way, because I'm helping people explore this condition and old age. So it's really kind of challenged me and helped me to dive into scripture and tradition to see how the church really accompanies people. Specifically in gerontology, I got into this because my maternal grandfather, Milton, developed some type of dementia. We're still not sure which in the 1990s. Now I was in high school and college then, so I wasn't involved in his care per se, but my mom, who was an only child, took care of him, advocated for him, did all the things that care partners do. And even years later, that impacted me. I always thought about that, and that put me on a path of going to grad school and then developing the ministry.
It's beautiful. And your ministry is Catholic aging. Catholic aging.
That is it.
Right. The website again is catholicaging.com. You've got the book, but we're sharing today not only about the book, we're sharing about this whole spectrum regarding gerontology and aging, dementia, Alzheimer's, and so on. So you've got so much experience in this area. Regarding your grandfather, how long ago was that, her care for him? And when did that conclude? About when? Or has it?
So I think we started seeing signs around 1994, 1995. Okay. And then it was, I guess, 7 more years till he passed away. So he had it for 7 years.
How much has changed from the time he experienced that and then I guess passed on to now? Are we finding out more? Are there more resources available than there were then when your mother was doing this? It sounds like she was pretty together and everything. I'm just wondering how much she just kind of researched and did on her own, or who was available to her to say, here are resources, here's the network. What's changed from that time to this time? Is it more positive?
It is more positive. In those 30 odd years, there's a lot more awareness around dementia and the different types. There's been some therapeutics that are on the market. While they don't cure, some of them might slow it down for some people. So there's been development of more support groups, online education within communities. So a lot of good things have happened since then. She really struggled trying to find answers to how to be a good care partner, how to find a good facility, things like that.
So tell our family the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia, and how to, because when you hear that, it's kind of like it's not a death sentence. People live with it. How do you cope and navigate all this and this diagnosis?
But you do think, if you're just a layman like I am, I'm surprised how much I don't know in this area. And so does everybody with dementia have Alzheimer's? Is that what it's about? Or you can have dementia without Alzheimer's? Because sometimes we just give that term on people, they have Alzheimer's, because they're experiencing dementia. So do you clear that up as much as you can?
Yeah, this is one of the most common questions among family members, care partners, even people who are experiencing some kind of impairment. So dementia, if you think about it as an umbrella term, so a broad term that describes many of these symptoms that people will experience. Memory impairment, impaired judgment, inability to communicate or impairment in communicating, not being able to focus or concentrate on the task at hand.
Your own location. Where am I right now?
Exactly, yes.
That kind of thing like I thought.
It could be time and place, thinking that you're in some other time, some other year. So dementia is a broad term. Alzheimer's is a type of disease that will cause many of these symptoms. But there are also other types of dementia. So we can call Alzheimer's a dementia type. And then you have frontal temporal type dementia, vascular type dementia, Lewy body type dementia. And all these look a little different. There's some overlap with them, but they're distinct diseases and pathologies that can cause memory impairment and some of the other things that I described.
Okay, so can those different things that you've mentioned be detected so you could say this is your form of dementia, this is what's going on, or maybe you can't detect that? Because it seems to me, what's the origin of these things? And you mentioned a number of things that could cause dementia, one of them being Alzheimer's. Where some of us, if you have dementia, we say they have Alzheimer's. But you're saying, no, the big heading is dementia. There's things under it. Alzheimer's is one of those. There are other things that could lead to dementia. Can they diagnose those other things pretty much and say what type you have of dementia?
So it's an interesting question because Sometimes they can, but sometimes it's very challenging. There's not one test that will tell you that's what they have. They're using a lot of clues to put together this puzzle. They're going to look at symptoms that they're seeing in that person living with dementia. They're probably going to do some imaging, some MRIs, some PET scans. They're going to, there is one particular test that we know about that will help differentiate between Lewy body type dementia than Alzheimer's dementia. So, but they're doing, for the most part, they're putting a lot of clues together to figure out what it is.
So when you do all these sessions with all these people, are you meeting with the dementia patients or are you meeting with the care partners? So when you're having your sessions, what is your audience, or is it both?
So most of the time, my audience is going to be care partners or caregivers. So I'm providing education many times in a parish, or it could be in a clinical setting, facilitating caregiver support groups. So my main audience is going to be care partners. Although they tell me, in those sessions, they're talking about their loved one. So kind of like what they're struggling with. And there are many types of dementias that are misdiagnosed. So frontal temporal type dementia, for example, this impacts people who are usually younger than age 60. So many times there's some psychological things going on with a patient. And because that person is younger than 60, the physician is not thinking dementia. Okay, so then they have to, many times it takes years for people to be diagnosed with FTD as opposed to other types or, other ages of people.
Yeah. This is just a very helpful conversation. I hope it's helpful for our people, that are viewing, and we want you to go to Matt's website, catholicaging.com. So much information there. Some of you are out there saying, oh, we're very familiar with it. We do. Glad that he's here to help us more fully to kind of just function, to be a partner. I like the word partner that you use. I don't think I've ever heard that. So you are a caretaker, but you're a partner as well. Why do you use partner anyway? Well, what does it mean for you?
So, and I didn't coin the term.
Okay.
Many people use it in the field, but to use the term care partner tells us that there's a two-way relationship. It's not just me doing things to you, performing tasks to you. Yeah. It's working with you. It's maybe you're performing tasks with someone. Yeah. So it's not me just doing something for you, because care partners, they're gonna if their hearts are open, if their eyes are open, they are going to receive a lot from their loved one, and really, like when they're helping them, they need to be paying attention to clues and to cues from that person as far as what they need.
So most of the problems are like cognitive, is that what you call it? Cognitive understanding?
Yeah, cognitive impairment encapsulates all.
But many people with dementia, many maybe can detect. I mean, if you're a physician, you're whatever, you're an authority, that's fine and you're there. But we're talking about partners, people who are living with people and really ministering to people. But they want to know I'm human, you're human, somehow in there. So you say partner.
Yes.
So I'm not always, above you, giving you information, looking at you, determining what's exactly right for you, because they may have some difficulties or problems that you can detect, or maybe they can articulate somehow, some way, right?
Correct.
So it's important just to know we're equals. May not be equals in some areas because you don't know where you are right now very well, and I'm going to help you with that, but that isn't, we're both human beings together, and somehow
dignity, human dignity. We both have dignity. We're both having to it really is a symbiotic relationship. You're having to work together.
Tell our family what are some of the common signs that they might see in yourself or in your loved one. What's going to appear?
So what you want to look for, actually, let me tell you what normal brain aging looks like, because this happens to all of us, no matter what our age. We might walk into a pantry and forget what ingredient we need, or we might misplace our eyeglasses or our car keys, or we might forget a name of someone that we've not seen in a long time. So these are all things that happen to us, but it's very normal. So we go back into the kitchen and we remember what we were looking for. We find our keys, we retrace our steps, right? And then even if not in that moment, we remember that person's name, even if it's an hour later, because it's someone we've not seen. But some of the things that we should be very familiar with and people that we know very closely, we should know their names. If we are forgetting, if those things are a challenge, or if you have trouble finding a word and you really never do find it, or if something, for example, using the dishwasher, using the washing machine, cooking a very familiar recipe to you. If you're struggling with doing those things, those I would say are some common warning signs and time to go to even just your primary care physician or your GP to get some kind of screening, because there are some things that can be ruled out. It's when we were talking about diagnosing before, a primary care physician is going to do some memory screening, but they're also going to run some tests, some blood tests. They're going to look at your vitamins. They're going to look for infection. They're going to ask about sleep apnea. They're going to screen you for depression. So there's a lot of, so, it can be scary to say, take your loved one or to go to yourself to a primary care physician with this concern, but it's possible that they can find some other cause besides Alzheimer's, Lewy body, and these other types.
Yeah. And all this is in your book, right? I mean, indicators and so on. So your book is Peace with Dementia and the Rosary. So the Rosary is in there with devotions. We'll speak more about that in the next show, right?
Right.
But I don't want people to think as well that it's all about the Rosary, and the Rosary is there alone. I mean, you got so many articles, so many things to test yourself and to discern where this loved one is of yours, and also caring for the care partner, that's in there, and there's so much that's in there. So what's if I answer yes to a number of those things, there would be some screening, could be a variety of reasons, but what are the next steps that you should take?
Yeah, so if you experience, or your loved one experiences some of these things that I mentioned, not being able to do familiar things, your primary care physician is, I would say, your next stop. And I think a lot of us think, oh, well, it's the brain, so I'm going to go get an appointment with a neurologist. Well, your primary care physician can usually handle these questions. It's a lot easier to go see your PCP typically. And you can be waiting 6 months or more typically for your neurologist or any specialist, really. So getting that screening, figuring out, having them rule out other things, like I mentioned, sleep apnea, infections, things like that, vitamin deficiency, thyroid conditions. So that's your first step. And then after that, if it does come back as being a legitimate concern, I would go to neurology after that, neurology, neuropsychology, to have some more testing done and to see where you are. And really, that's the starting point. You want to find this out, because I could see someone wanting to put this off, and I actually talk about that in the first mini chapter. It's associated with the Annunciation. The thought of being diagnosed can be very scary, but the alternative is not getting diagnosed.
We're going to hold you right there, and we're going to hold you over for the next session that we have, and you can continue to elaborate upon that and so much more. Matthew Estrade, The Peace with Dementia Rosary, Education, Intentions, Community, available at ewtnrc.com. Go to catholicaging.com to get information, so much information in this area, so much help, so much support, groups you can be involved with and connected with. You're not alone. There's a whole community of people to help support you through this. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Please don't go away. Welcome back, continuing our conversation in this whole area of dementia, Alzheimer's, and so on. So you've been sharing with us about some of the symptoms and steps people can take. What are some of the solutions that we should apply or that you've learned? Yeah,
so the person living with dementia and their care partner, experience no shortage of challenges that they experience on this journey. And it really is a journey. In the very beginning, there's a lot of challenges as far as accepting things that are, the things that are happening, the changes. And then there's the, and then things tend to get a little easier, actually. The very beginning, as you might expect, it's getting used to something, but then over time, as they reach out to resources in the community, after they're finding other people that are, experiencing the same thing, it can be a lot more comforting, and we see stress start to go down. One of the greatest challenges that I see with care partners is that feeling of being alone, of not feeling like they're doing the right thing. So they need community, like in-person community, ideally, and they need validation of the things that they're doing, because many times someone's doing a great job, but they're not going to know that unless they're talking with other caregivers or professionals. So that's why caregiver support groups are one of those solutions. And many councils on aging, many parishes, many other organizations, they'll have them locally or they have them online, but they're just so essential that people who are care partners, caregivers, that they put themselves out there. They find a group locally to connect with other people.
And you're establishing groups like that?
So we're slowly establishing groups in parishes, but I'm also happy to help people find groups locally if they're not finding them. Many people can find them by talking to their parish, talking with their clinic or hospital, talking with the Alzheimer's Association or Dementia Minds. There are many advocacy organizations, frontal temporal dementia, Lewy body dementia. They all have a network. Now, do they have a group in your community? You just have to check, and if not, maybe help start one.
Yeah.
But finding a group, whether it's through the Catholic Church or through other community organizations, is just crucial.
Well, and it's critical, right? Because to be a care partner is you're signing up to suffer with. I mean, that's what you're suffering with, and you're loving, and you're being as compassionate as you could possibly be. But you need support, and you need somebody to hear your heart. And cry with, or laugh with, and just to be with and journey with, just to say, I need you. Yeah. I need someone who's going through exactly what I'm going through.
Matt, thanks so much for being with us today. We thank God that we have you again tomorrow to unpack more fully this whole area, and especially the book, Peace with Dementia, Rosary, Education, Intentions, and Community. You can go to CatholicAging.com, CatholicAging.com. Matt is doing such great work in this area. He said, if I don't have the information or I don't have a group for you, I can connect you with the people. You need community. You need to be affirmed in the work that you're doing. You need to know other resources that can support you. The last thing you want to feel is totally isolated and alone, because you're not. As we say on this show, you're never alone. You're an important part of the family. You're always at home with Jim and Joy. Bye now.